God's plan for your life is for you to receive the blessing that is associated with utilizing the gifts that He has entrusted you in the blessing of the lives of others and fulfilling your life destiny. And the usage of the gifts that God has given you, beloved, enables you to be ready for the coming of Christ. In Matthew chapter 25, Jesus says from verse 14 that the kingdom of heaven is as a man traveling into a far country, who called his own servants and delivered unto them his goods. And unto one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, and to another 1, to every man according to his several ability, and straightway took his journey. Beloved, God has given you gifts based upon your ability, based upon your capacity to utilize what you have. And what you have been entrusted by God, it is not an impossible task that He has given you to perform functions based upon the natural resources that lie naturally within you. He has given you gifts based upon your ability to perform those functions connected with those gifts. So do not be intimidated at what you have and think that it is too great for you. You were entrusted with those gifts because you have the ability to handle them. You have the ability to perfect them. You have the ability to use those gifts. So do not allow fear to consume your mind and your thoughts into thinking and believing that it is too much for you who is sufficient for these things. No, God gave it to you because you have the ability to use those gifts. The devil wants you to believe that God has blessed you with more than you can handle or an insufficient amount that you need. And it is not so. For to believe that would be to believe that God is not fair. But because God is always fair, always just, and is always balanced, He did not place upon you a burden that you cannot bear. He did not give you something that you cannot handle and that you cannot trade upon and increase and grow and bless the lives of others thereby. In verse 16 of Matthew 25 it reads, Then he that had received the 5 talents went and traded with the same and made them other 5 talents. Do you see what God requires of you, beloved? God requires you to use the gifts that He has given you and to trade with those gifts. Allow those gifts to be a blessing and a benefit to your life. Allow those gifts to be a blessing and a benefit to other people's life. And when you trade on a gift, it means that you are using your gift and your gift gives you a return. And what is profound about what we have just read is that the more we use our gifts, it causes the other gifts that you possess that lie dormant within your soul to be activated, and now you end up with double what you began with. And this is the intention, this is the purpose of the gifts in the first place that God has given you, that as you use them you would increase, that you would be blessed more and more. So your growth in grace, in order for you to reach your full potential, you have to utilize your gifts, because not only the active gifts are necessary, but the dormant gifts, those passive gifts that you do not yet recognize that exist in your life, they are dependent upon you first using your original gifts, and your original gifts give birth to dormant gifts, latent abilities that you possess that help you to grow, to increase, and to become whom God wants you to be. And when we use your original gifts and they activate your dormant gifts, you then have a clearer, brighter vision of your purpose, of your potential in this life, and you are able to fulfill your calling in this life for the simple fact, for the simple reason that you used what you had, you traded upon them, and it brought forth fruit fruit unto righteousness, and fruit unto blessing, fruit unto the fulfillment of your purpose that was given to you by God. So God has hidden the purpose for your life deep within your gifts, and the utilizing of those gifts is simply not enough. When you use your gift, you must bear fruit, and in using your gifts, it must create the usage of your dormant abilities. Your gifts are to bring you other gifts. This is what Christ wants you to see. Your gifts bring you other gifts. When you utilize your original gifts, it activates the dormant gifts, and God says, well done, thou good and faithful servant. You are a producer. You are a bearer of fruit. And this is the story of the river that watered the Garden of Eden. Eden was a place, and within the place of Eden, God planted a garden for Adam and Eve to live. And in Genesis chapter 2, verse 10 to 13, it says, and a river went out of Eden to water the garden, and from thence it was parted and became into four heads. The name of the first is Pison, that is it which compasseth the whole land of Havilah, where there is gold, and the gold of that land is good. There is bdellium and the onyx stone. And the name of the second river is Gihon, the same is that compasseth the whole land of Ethiopia. And the name of the third river is Hiddekel, that is it which goeth toward the east of Assyria. And the fourth river is Euphrates. Do you know what is the object lesson of the meaning of the names of these rivers? What is God trying to teach us? God has tried to teach us the same principle over and over again in different ways. The name of the first river, which is Pison, means increase. Gihon means bursting forth. Hiddekel means rapid, and Euphrates fruitfulness. So God intends for you that as you trade on your gifts that he has given you, that you increase, that you burst forth rapidly unto fruitfulness. God's plan for your life is that you be fruitful. God's plan for your life is that you increase, that you burst forth rapidly unto fruitfulness. That one river no longer remain one river when it passed through the Garden of Eden, the gift that God prepared for Adam and Eve as a dwelling place. So when the resource passed through the gift, it was multiplied 4 times over. When that river passed through that gift that God has prepared for Adam and Eve, it split into 4 heads when it passed through the Garden of Eden. Increase, bursting forth rapidly unto fruitfulness is the desire of God for your life. It's the plan of God for your life. When you utilize your gifts, do not bury your gifts. Trade upon your gifts until you become fruitful, until you benefit. Because when you become fruitful with the gifts that God has given you, it means now you have created other gifts. You have brought to life other gifts. You have ultimately obeyed the laws of nature. You are working in accordance with the divine laws of nature, the law of fruitfulness. You cannot begin in one position and end in that same position without bearing fruit. That would be a selfish life, and nothing is in creation is selfish. Whether it's the plants, whether it's the trees, whether it's the ecosystem, everything gives back, bears fruit, increases, bursting forth rapidly unto fruitfulness. This is God's plan for your life. Trade on your gifts, beloved. Trade on your gifts so that you would be able to see the other gifts that lie dormant within your soul, that God needs you to utilize, that you will fulfill the purpose for your life that he has given you. This is the Word of Life with Andre Knight.